On this episode of ResiWeek, Samsung and Amazon intro HDR 10 Plus, Snap AV frees up their overseer platform, and drop an Amazon Dot on a doorstep and sell more AV. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Kramer, AV Beyond the Box, and by Chief, the global leader in commercial AV mounting solutions.
This is ResiWeek episode 64, Run Towards the Money.
This is ResiWeek.
Welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'll be your host today, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Jason Savage. He is the West Coast Sony CI guy. Jason, how are you today?
Great, guys. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. And last but not least, we have my good buddy, my pal, Stephen Bronner. He is the president of Pro Audio Georgia. How you doing, man?
I'm doing outstanding, man.
Did I get Georgia right?
You got Georgia right, man.
Georgia.
You got it nailed that time. It's a kind of a dreary day. Normally it's beautiful in Georgia, but it's got to rain every now and then, man.
That's terrible. I sat out on the deck for lunch today. It was 70 degrees.
Yeah, but
for Canada.
But no matter how good your weather is, you're still Canadian, so you lose.
Wow.
He doesn't. He's already forgotten, Jason, that you and I
you're outnumbered.
We're bonded together
in snow and ice. Yes, sir.
Exactly. All right, guys, let's kick this off. This comes to us from Residential Systems. Samsung and Amazon Video are introducing HDR 10 Plus. This is some fancy new open standard codecs for a next generation HDR video experience. What makes this fun is that it's the first time that Amazon has really gotten together with anybody to produce an open standard. But what makes it even more entertaining is that, in Samsung's words, this allows your HDR system to adjust brightness levels on a scene-by-scene and even a frame-by-frame basis, opposed to just setting that brightness level based on the disc or the content that you have going. It's all going to be supported through the second half of this year on all their 2017 UHD models, and in the later half of the year, it will also support the 2016 UHD models. Stephen, HDR is kind of the new buzzword in addition to 4K, yada, yada, yada. Everybody's quasi excited about it. Hearing about this new HDR 10 Plus, are you excited?
I guess. Here's the thing. So this is no different to me than, somebody who hasn't put out any good technology in years. Now they're just trying to make a splash.
Samsung or Amazon?
Samsung.
Clarify that. All right. Samsung. I just wanted you to clarify.
Yeah. Samsung's getting trounced right now. Their TVs are subpar. They are number 3 on the list. 3 years ago, they were easily reigning number 1 champion, even over the Sonys. Maybe, I know they won the best TV competition one year. So, now they're getting trounced. They're number 3 on the picture quality list. They're not putting out any new technology. They're struggling all their aspects. They bought some companies. They're investing some money. They're going to make money. But HDR 10 is a neat idea, but here's the problem with that. When you calibrate your screen and you say, okay, this is what I want it to look like, this is a truly calibrated screen. When you put the disc in or the media in, let's just go today's terms, when you start your Netflix, the director who made that movie did not make that movie with the intention of your TV deciding what the lighting should look like in every scene. He made that movie on a calibrated camera, through a calibrated processor, on a calibrated screen that was set to one setting, and it always did that. So now we're taking the exquisite details that our clients look for in picture quality, and we're saying, you know what, Sony, you have these amazing blacks. You know what, LG, you have these amazing blacks. And you have all these things, but now Samsung has decided that they know more than the producers and the directors and the cutting room people, and they're going to decide that in Batman the Dark Knight, in the dark scenes where the shadows mean something, now all of a sudden Samsung says, you know what? I like My Little Pony instead. I think I'm going to brighten this scene up a little bit. And in my opinion, that is a terrible idea. We don't get to, it destroys the artistic production of the scene whenever you start deciding what you want it to look like. That's not the idea. The idea is the media is presented to us in a certain way. Imagine if James Cameron would have taken the blue filter off when he filmed Avatar. That changes the entire look of the movie. So that movie is filmed through a blue filter for a reason. So now we're telling the TV, you know what? We understand that you're an engineer, so you design a chip that's going to make this look better than James Cameron can. I don't like it. I think it's neat, the idea of being able to change, and maybe on a TV show or something, but even then, artistic creativity goes out the window. You're basically letting your TV decide what it should look like. I think it's a terrible idea. I'm all for more colors. I'm an ISF certified calibrator. I actually have the gear, unlike a lot of people that claim they're certified calibrators. And I do the calibrations, and I can tell you that never once have I had a client come to me and say, you know what, in this one scene in the movie, I wish it was a little brighter. It's just never happened.
Very good. Jason, obviously you're a Sony guy. Stephen does have a point there with wanting to maintain something that the producer or the content creator created when they created the color space and the imagery of whatever you're watching. Do the clients, the customers, the end users, do they care, or do they love this idea of HDR and getting that range?
I think, again, I'm just basing my response on my personal opinion. I have certainly appreciate more colors. I kind of see this as an answer to the Dolby Vision question, because essentially HDR10 plus with variable metadata, if you squint just right, looks very similar to what the Dolby Vision proposition is. You're going to see color points changing. You're going to see these things adapting on a frame by frame basis. So really, I just, my observation would be this is sort of an answer for the HDR10 camp to be able to deliver on the promise of, oh yeah, we can do variable metadata as well. That content is going to be, or that color grading is going to be dictated by the people that are putting the disc or the show or the whatever it is together. At the end of the day, I think it's really just a headline grab at this point, because I highly doubt that HDR10 plus is going to be an exclusive to Amazon and Samsung only. There's too much the weight of Hollywood pushing down on getting this content out the door to clients and to customers, end users, etc., for that to be just a 1 + 1 = 2 arrangement. I don't see that as being reality. And with the lack of Dolby Vision discs, haven't seen one yet. Only seen Dolby Vision available through Vudu here in the United States. I think it's really just a stamp on from an industry side of things, from the HDR camp, to say, look, we can do that as well, and we're already in wide adoption through Netflix, Amazon, etc. So it's just going to be another level up on the content side of things.
Very good. And don't forget, towards the end of the article, it even states, you got to remember that if you want to run HDR10, not just on an app on your panel, you need to have your complete ecosystem has to support that HDR10, just like the 4K conversation we talked about last week. So yeah, I'm with you guys. All right, gentlemen, let's move over to an article that comes to us from CE Pro. And this is Julie Jacobson, the one and only. Snap AV is dropping its recurring revenue fees for their Overseer remote management system. What makes this entertaining is Overseer has had some fairly good adoption throughout the industry, but now it doesn't have a recurring cost to it. Stephen, you're a dealer, you're an integrator. Overseer, and I don't want to debate the quality of Overseer. What I want to do is I want to talk about how they are eliminating their fee to hopefully help promote you as a dealer selling that recurring revenue fee. Because they state, and it comes straight through the article, Julie quoted them on it, they didn't need this recurring revenue. They didn't need the additional money. So they eliminated it to help boost dealers selling a recurring revenue model, obviously based on their Overseer platform. Is that the right move?
I took that article a little differently. I read the same thing, and we came to a little bit of a different conclusion. When I read it, I came to the conclusion that they stopped the fees because the integrators were having a hard time selling an RMR model. That's just not what we do. So they stopped the fees. And in the article, it says that it had really good adoption. People loved it, but no one was selling the people that were selling it weren't selling the packages to go with RMR packages. So basically, it was becoming a cost of doing business. Now, there's another article. If you read that article on CE Pro, there's a link in the middle of that article to another one that says remote maintenance. Is it the cost of doing business, or is it something charged for? It's something like that. But it's a click in the middle of that article. I think that this is a great thing. I think that people, number one, I've often been a critic of Snap AV, and that hasn't changed. But what I will say is that Oversee is actually a phenomenal product. It works really well. I know a lot of guys that use it. I'm a package guy with Backpack. I love it. I think it's an amazing product. That's now a Control 4 thing. But I will say that Oversee is a phenomenal product. And I think that getting rid of the fees for their silver dealers and above, it does a couple of things. Number one, it pushes guys to sell a little bit more Snap AV product. But on the other side is now, if you are having a hard time doing RMR contracts, I don't do RMR sales, and I know everybody says, your business model is broken and all this. You know what? I eat just fine. I'm getting fatter by the day. So my business model seems to be okay, but I use it for my client base. And I tell my clients, what I offer, I use the Jerry Maguire example where it's a smaller client base, larger service. So, and I tell my clients, I'll know you have a problem before you do. What that does is it takes that worry off the table. It's something that I could sell. These clients that we have would be willing to pay $100, $200, even more dollars a year for you to maintain their system remotely. But it's something that brings me business. So now they're opening that up to guys, and they're saying, hey, you know what? If you can't charge for it, no big deal. Here's something for you to use. And it's going to take the level of service and take it through the roof. Because guys that were avoiding it because they had to pay for it, now they're going to get it and they're going to go, oh my God, I can take care of my client remotely. I think it's like I said, I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great product. Snap AV put a lot of thought into it. I love the fact that you can customize it to your company. So when they pull the app up, the app doesn't say Oversee by Snap AV or whatever it is. It'll say like Omega Audio Video from Matt, or it'll say, Sony is the shit, by Jason, or it'll say.
That's what it says every time.
It'll say Pro Audio Georgia. So, I mean, my thing is that, it's cool what they're thinking of, but what I took away from the article, like I said, was just a little different. I think that the reason why they did it is because they wanted to sell more product. I'm sorry, I just read something. So they wanted to sell more product, and they noticed that their integrators weren't able to sell it, so now they've opened it up.
Jason, Stephen makes a good point. When you look at something like this, is this that type of product and this type of service that moves integrators past, and I'm not going to use the trunk slammer analogy, but moves integrators past the guy that does AV and puts them into a greater level of professionalism when you have products like this, whether you're selling them for RMR or not, but you're allowing your customers to get better service without them having to hound you for it. Is that where the industry needs to continue to push further?
Yeah, I think, as IoT develops, I mean, all these things are going to be talking to each other, and, Kim Jong-un is going to be able to hear what you're saying somewhere across the world, or whatever the latest doomsday prophecy is about, remote monitoring us in our underwear in our living rooms or what have you.
You wear underwear in your living room?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Who wears underwear in their house?
I don't know how they do it in Georgia, buddy, but I'm just saying it's cold up here in the Pacific Northwest. So, anyways,
and there goes our rating.
Yeah, and down the tubes. But to avoid any further mental images, I think anything that you can do to lend perception, credibility to to your clientele, whether or not you're a giant, long-standing multi-state firm, or you're two guys in a van and you're paying your cousin part-time to help you pull wire. Anything that you can do to drive legitimacy of what you're offering and your business, offerings, or the install services or whatever that you do sell to clients. I think it's a good thing. To the previous conversation last week, where everybody's worried about DIY is going to take over, security, and DIY is going to take over all of the smart home stuff, and everybody's freaking out. I'm in the camp of running the direction of where the $100 bills are blowing from, and whatever that needs to be is the direction you need to be running. And in the case for Snap AV, if they're giving you a product where you can remote monitor all your clients' stuff, you don't have to have fingerprints on file, you don't have to have a DDNS certificate and all that stuff, so that you can remotely tap into the client's house. They manage all that expertise for you. That seems like a no-brainer. In my personal opinion, I'd be more than happy to say, yeah, we can do this, and with this particular product, if you have a problem, I can power cycle your TV, or I can reset your Blue Bolt, or fix your thermostat, whatever the issue is. I think that adds a lot of legitimacy and credibility to anybody that offers that kind of service.
Very good.
Very much agree. And they followed. It's kind of interesting when you look at different brands and different trends in the industry. No knock on Snap AV, but Package kind of started this when they made Backpack free. Now they're losing sales. Snap AV is losing because Control 4 guys are buying Package because it goes towards their Control 4 bucks. And so Snap AV started seeing that loss in business. So it was a business decision, and I think it was great. But it's an interesting trend. And now we've got Domots and Luxel. Domots is still charging, and they have a charge to make it work model for their business model. So that's the next company to watch is what does Luxel do with Domots? Because if Domot stops charging for their service, there's really no other stream of revenue. It's not like like Snap AV is a massive distributor and, rebrander. Domots is just a monitoring company like IHG. So what do those companies do? That's going to be the very interesting thing to watch, because now you have Backpack and Oversea are both free. I'm interested to see what happens to IHG and Domots.
Well, yeah, because they will have to address this in some way, shape, or form to their dealers to justify the value add that they're offering with their system. Not to say that their systems are the same, but that is a question, because that's even been a question that's come up with Domots for a while now, is why are we paying for this? What are you giving me that somebody else doesn't give me for free? And, when you look at Package and even Snap AV, the ability to roll that into something else, right, makes it so much easier. And that's something that we've seen across the industry in general, with people and companies just continuing to expand and add other things under their roof. Let's jump over to another actual article from CE Pro. This is also from Julie. She's just writing like crazy, but it's about our good buddy, Joe Whitaker. He is a CEDIA board member. If you didn't know, he will harass you to join CEDIA. But more importantly, he is the owner of The Thoughtful Home and a regular on our show. He has changed some of his marketing around. And essentially, when they're in a neighborhood doing an installation and some work, they will, or Joe will send, one of his guys out and scope the neighborhood a little bit, not like a, guy in a ski mask, but scope the neighborhood out and see if there's any neighbors around that don't have any obvious technology going on in their house. They don't have, a fancy door system. They don't have cameras, maybe lane sensors or something like that. And they will drop off a free, fully Thoughtful Home branded Echo Dot. Now, as you read through the article, you'll see that they've, purchased quite a few dots, but they are closing a large number of installs that far surpasses their initial investment, and more importantly, getting a lot of talk going around the home. Jason, I know you're a good friend of Joe's. He's always kind of enterprising like this. Is this kind of just the perfect example of how targeted marketing is key opposed to mass market?
I think this is a way that you could tie in a product that people might be hearing about, might be seeing a lot lately. Maybe they go in a Best Buy. I don't know why you'd go in a Best Buy, but if they've been exposed to any kind of marketing for that kind of product, this is something that they could relate to. And talk about to make an analogy here, talk about like a gateway drug, right? Like here's a $50 taste of something that, whether you use it or you don't use it, awesome, but it could end up being, I think it's listed there in the article, it could be a $20,000 windfall for the dealer. So would you put $50 in to win 20 grand back? I think if you're a gambler, you'd be looking pretty long and hard at those kinds of odds. So yeah, I think I don't give Joe credit for a lot, but I will give him credit for not only being a very ambitious and supportive CEDIA board member, but also a pretty shrewd businessman. In this particular case, I got to say hats off to Joe, because like I said, I couldn't think of a smarter way to spend. I think it's listed there as $2,000. Well, I mean, we'll just say that you turn 10 grand off of each one of those. It's not long multiplication to figure out what kind of profit we're talking about. So, yeah, I think targeted marketing using a device that people may have heard about to sort of link into the things that we sell, like control, TV, AV, wiring, etc. Like I said, I think that's a very smart targeted marketing move on behalf of our dear friend.
Our dear friend. Very nice. Stephen, I know you'll have an opinion on this, but just before you do, I got a question I want you to answer. Looking at this application, and again, he's buying a $50 product and essentially directly dropping it on a potential client. When you look at the cost of web leads, for example, a $50 web lead for a most likely qualified, because they're actually qualifying them in the field, that's not a bad cost of generating that lead.
No, it's not. And I don't think that his lead generation is bad. I read the numbers in the article, and I did what I always do. I tried to see if it applied to my business model and my customers. Most of the neighborhoods that we go into, that we work, I can't just walk up to somebody's door and put a box on the doorstep. You can mail them something and hope that they get it and not their kid or their nephew or whatever. But I really looked at this. I read this article. I actually had a friend of mine from high school send me the article again in a Facebook message telling me I should read it. And I told him I did read it. I really like Joe. I think he's great. I don't know what neighborhoods he's working in where he can just walk up and drop stuff on people's doorsteps. I can't. Like, I looked at it and I said, oh my God, this is a great idea. And I said, oh, wait a minute. These are all, they're gated, or they've got Dobermans, or, miniguns sticking out of the roof. I don't know, man. I mean, You
We don't
can't.
all
It is
live
Georgia,
in Georgia.
right? It's
Yeah.
all Georgia, as I'm about to
Yeah.
say.
So I think it's great. Now, keep in mind that also, Joe, if you're watching this, I can get you a new hat because Gator hat's a lot nicer than that Texas Longhorn hat that you're wearing.
Wow.
You know, I can think of some neighborhoods that we've been in where this might work. The downside is that, and I know that he does control for, and that's awesome. The downside is that you're building your company based off of technology being offered by a third party, and we see how well that works with Apple.
Well, hold on though. Is it building the company based on the Amazon dot, or is he using the dot to open a conversation?
He's using it to open a conversation, and I get that. So the conversation that he's opening is, with this, we can do voice control of your home. Okay. Now, I do this integration. There's actually a major marketing company coming out with a huge interview they did with me about voice control, and I do a lot of this voice control. And I will tell you that to say that it's in its infancy and not an exact science is probably an understatement. So my concern would be, we sell it as an ad. And we sell it as cutting edge technology. So we put it on every project. It's not a big secret. All of our clients have it. But when we put it in, we say, okay, this is cutting edge. It's not always going to recognize what you say. It's not always going to do what you want it to do. But it's cool to have. So they can come in and go, Alexa, turn on my lights or whatever. And Alexa will do it about 85% of the time. And so that means Alexa listens a lot better than any of my 4 children. So what I will say is that I think Joe is brilliant for doing this. Number one, I think it's great. But I always get concerned whenever you lead a conversation with technology that's not developed. So you're talking about leading a conversation. Imagine 4 years ago, you're dropping off 4K disc or a jump drive with 4K video on it and saying, hey, you can take this and plug it into one of the TVs that we sell and you can get 4 times the resolution that you're getting now. Yeah, but, does the TV support it? Does the receiver support it? Does it, like you were talking earlier about the whole chain? I am concerned about building around this technology because, to be honest with you, right now it kind of sucks. If you built your company and your technology worked 85% of the time, do you think you would have a company? No, you wouldn't. It just wouldn't work. So I think Joe is brilliant for doing this. I think it's an awesome conversation starter, but I just am really weary about starting a conversation saying we can do XYZ whenever XYZ doesn't really work all the time. But it's working for Joe, and he got a $20,000 project out of it, and yeah. So he got a $20,000 project out of a $50 investment. Like I said in my response on the City of Community article, if you're making money, you don't need to change your business model. So I think Joe is doing something right. I think he's making money. I just don't know if I would be comfortable doing it.
So the only part of that where I'll tell you you're wrong is all of it. No, is you gotta remember that when you're looking at something like this, no matter what it is, whether you want to do dots, whether you want to do remotes or a disc or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's about being able to start that conversation. And we all three of us, we know Joe. Joe's a smart guy. He's not going to walk in and say, and my dot's upstairs. But he's not going to walk in and be, one of those guys who says, hey, look, here's a dot. Pretend this is a dot because mine's upstairs. This is a dot. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. Everything's going to work. No, Joe's going to walk in and say, hey, you got the dot? That's awesome. Let's talk about what we can help you with in your home and the other technologies available.
Yeah.
We can't drop this down to something as simplistic as you get a call for a 4K TV, you go sell and spec the 4K TV, and you don't talk about, oh, maybe you'd like some speakers to go with this. Right. Do you have a pool outside? I see you entertain, maybe a Sunbright for outside or a outdoor Sony in a sleeve or something. I don't know. Something.
Yeah.
But it's all about being able to have that conversation, because as it said in the article, they're pointing out homes that don't have any visible technology.
Right.
And having the opportunity to not let that type of conversation go to somebody like a Geek Squad member who may or may not be up in point on what's going on with an 85% close rate or working rate. That's not what it's about. It's about selling that opportunity.
I agree. And that's why I said, up front, I respect it. I think he's doing great. And if he's making money, there's nothing wrong with that. And I just,
Nope.
I tried to look at it for my business, and I was like, ooh, now I did give away some Amazon Echoes last year, and that worked out great for me, but that's a far larger, you're talking about a much larger expenditure. I would be interested at some point in talking, and I will at some point talk to Joe about, how he goes about picking his clients. That's not a conversation to be had in an open discussion like this. But I would be interested to see how he does that, because I look at somebody like Joe and I'm like, okay, this guy's rocking it. I want to follow what he's doing. And I just can't seem to figure it out. So don't take this as I think he's doing the wrong thing. Take this as I'm not smart enough to figure it out like he has.
That's not surprising.
No, not at all.
When you send Joe that gator hat, make sure it's an extra large, because after all of this props we're giving Joe, yeah. Read into that what you will.
I thought that was normal. I didn't know.
All right, guys, we're going to have to cut it short there. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here and bringing your fantastic insight. Jason, where can people connect with you?
Well, I just wanted to take a quick second here. Of course, I'm the Sony West Coast guy, so you're going to see me around. But we've got a string of national events that we're doing to promote Sony.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in attending a Sony line show, or you can come out and get your hands on the latest and greatest, you'll be able to see the new OLEDs, be able to see the new ultra short throw projector, our new line of AV receivers. Reach out to your local sales rep, reach out to your local distributors that sell Sony, and they can give you the details on the events that are coming up in your area. But pretty much from now until the end of June, on the West Coast, pretty much every week or every other week, you're going to see a Sony event happening somewhere in the region. So again, where can you find me? I'll be somewhere with flat feet and a sore back, talking about Sony at a regional event. And if you're a disty guy and maybe you're not even a Sony customer, those would be the events to come out to really get your hands on what we have to offer. And if you want to know what real IP control of a video source looks like, you should be selling Sony. I would go ahead and second that. Thank you very much, Stephen.
It's a very nice plug, Stephen. I like it. Steve, where can people connect with you?
I'm at ProAudio_GA on Twitter, Stephen Bronner on LinkedIn, Pro Audio just about everywhere. I answer to just about anything. Reach out to me. I'm down in Georgia. If you're ever in my area, I love talking to guys that are traveling through, having dinner, whatever. I'm a big eater. So whatever, just reach out to me. Pro Audio, Georgia.
Excellent. Well, again, thanks so much for joining us. For myself, if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter and every other platform. More importantly, please take a moment to stop by AVNation.tv. You'll find this show as well as a wide variety of our other shows. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our underwriters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you support them as well. Thanks again for joining us on this episode of ResiWeek.